Yo, is My Take on Reality covering sister wives again?
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
You could be with anyone, I could be with anyone, you're you and me. You're you and me, you could be around.
You could be with anyone, I could be with anyone, you're you and me. You're you and
Let's
me.
get it. That's right, I'm back. Okay, they keep pulling me back in. So this Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Sister Wife talk show, My Take Talk Show, we're going to be reviewing Becoming Sister Wives, first chapter, Matrimony, Mary's side and Cody's side, and we're going to go through those stories. And in addition to that, we have a special guest coming through, Jenny from Senior Perspective. Awesome channel. Make sure you go check that out. She has some very interesting takes and views on the subject matter, and I thought it'd be cool to bring her on so that we could talk about it. Then, guess what, y'all? On Monday, the OG3 Trinity has returned. That's right. We have come back, and we're going to be back in full effect this Monday on the 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sarah from Sarah Spills and Reality Squad, as well as Amanda from Reality Amanda and myself are going to be coming together to talk about the Sister Wives early season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come down, check us out. So again, that's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, and then 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday. If you can't get enough of the James, come check out the shows. All right, awesome. Now, one of the things that keeps happening to me is that Sarah and I must be on the same wavelength. I think it's because we're coming back together doing these lives. But Sarah had talked about Mykelti doing her Patreon. And on her Patreon, Mykelti had said that one of the most talked about issues in the Brown family, as far as the fan base has been concerned, has been Nacho Gate. This is the point in the story of Becoming Sister Wives where Cody reveals that he was disgusted by Christine devouring the largest plate of nachos he's ever seen. And one of the craziest parts about it is that I know people get tired of talking about it, but I have a different perspective on it this time, folks. If you follow with me, you'll get it. I'm telling you. This is something that tracks from episode 1, season 1, episode 1, all the way through to season 17 where it's pronounced, even in season 18 where it's reiterated, and it even starts in Becoming Sister Wives in Cody's first prologue chapter, and we're going to talk about it here. So let's buckle up, Buttercup. Now, the craziest part about what Mykelti reveals in her Patreon is not the fact that the nacho thing happened and what I'm going to reveal later. But the craziest thing that Mykelti revealed is that Christine had no idea. Could you imagine? You will go 15 years, almost 20 years with a partner. You guys have 5 children and you're pregnant with your 6th, only to find out that the man that you've been sharing your time, your life, and your bed with has been disgusted by you. Like, that's insane. So no wonder when people talk about Christine being petty and showing up on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, or X as they call it, X. And they talk, oh, wow, well, maybe not the triple X's, but when she shows up on Twitter, we'll call it Twitter. When she shows up on the Twitters and she has a picture of herself and David holding a big old plate of nachos, they say, oh, let it go, Christine. That's something that will ingrain into your soul, okay? If your first true love, your first husband said that he was disgusted by you, that's something that you're going to carry around with you for a little bit. Let's just say that that topic is going to have handles, okay? Because you're going to be carrying that shit. It's not going to be something you could just put down. All right, and that's why I think that it's so crazy that she always comes out and she puts out the little barbs that, you know, okay, he didn't like this, but this one who I'm with and this one who I'm married and this one who is the love of my life loves this about me. He loves everything that this other one hated. And that's not just a shot at her previous relationship. That's also reaffirmation, and it's a way for her to validate herself within her own world, in her own mind. Whatever you got to do to build your self-esteem. Because remember, self-esteem is the esteem of yourself. So you have to build that for yourself. You can't rely on other people to make you feel better about you. And that's what Christine is doing. So bravo to her. But during the course of the book, there's a couple points that we're going to talk about in the book. And this is kind of how we do it on Sunday nights. Don't forget, Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Senior Perspective. Cody had talked about driving all night to Wyoming. It was dangerous. Mary and I rode in the front seat and Christine sat in the back. So right there, Chris, we have to keep in mind who the players was. Now, I did not know, because this is my first time actually going through the book. I didn't know that it was Christine, Mary, and Cody. I just thought it was a date between Cody and Christine. I didn't realize that Mary was there, which adds context to what I'm going to say in a moment. Now, he talks about how they had rode all night because of this road trip. They went out for the day and they had played games and they did all this stuff, and how attractive to Christine he was, how he loved her sparks, he loved watching her, loved her bubbliness. This is her being the friendly go-along wife, the wife who is easy to get along with. This is one of the attributes that even Christine acknowledged in season 17 or season 18, where she said that I was always the friendly, easy to get along with one. I was the one he could come to, and I would always put the bright side or the light side on things, which is a very difficult position for anybody, because when you become the easy to get along with, fun time one, then you can't ever be the bad news one. You can't be the one who brings the realness, the one who has problems, the one who has issues. So when he comes over to your house, or it comes down to your room, or it comes down to your basement dwelling, because she was basically the basement wife in Lehigh, when she comes downstairs, he doesn't expect to sit there and do anything heavy. He doesn't want to talk about bills and money problems like he would maybe with Janelle. He doesn't want to talk about the relationship being, difficult, or the issues of jealousy or whatever that he may or may not have had with Mary. And the seriousness of her trying to keep the family anchored. He wants to go down and have the vacation spot, which actually gives a little tread to what we had said later, or I'd said later, about why Robin is so attractive. Because if Robin is making the honeymoon position for him to be able to come over to her house and just sit there and enjoy life, and the kids don't bother him, and he can just sit there and be dad of the century and husband of the year, then of course he's going to prefer Robin. And that's no shot on anybody. It's just kind of how it worked. But getting back to the story, Christine was the kind of person that he wanted to have around all the time. She loved every room and brought the fun, positive energy. And again, this goes back to reinforce what I was saying about how she presented herself and what she could add to the family. He goes on to describe Christine by saying that Christine was the cutest girl in the world. Although she was a little chubby back then, I was young and superficial enough to care about physical appearances. Not like now, where you go on Mormonism Live just this year and brag about, well, Cody, when did you know you were winning in life? When did you realize you were a very successful polygamist? Well, it was when I pulled down a diesel jean model. It wasn't, when I realized that the outward appearance wasn't anything and this woman just had to be the most amazing person in the world. No, it's when I pulled down a diesel jean model. So apparently the maturity had not quite matriculated yet in Cody's view of women and relationships and the inner love and inner person. So you have that. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing is, Cody said that after we've been on the road all night, we stopped at a gas station. I'd been drinking soda pop to stay awake, and my stomach left us sour and upset. Felt sour and upset. Just thinking about food made me queasy. All right? So you drank so much soda or pop or whatever you want to call it that your stomach was upset. You soured your stomach because your stomach was empty. Okay, so you hadn't eaten. And Christine went into the Quickie Mart and bought herself what looked like the largest portion of chili cheese nachos that I'd ever seen. The sight of those nachos turned my stomach. I couldn't watch her eat them. I couldn't watch her eat them. She must have been starving, because she was eating so quickly And there was chili sauce and nacho cheese everywhere. And he says later, looking back, he hated himself for the thoughts he had at the moment and the sight of this chubby girl in his car devouring chili cheese nachos for breakfast put the brakes on our relationship. Now, here's the thing, and let's be very clear about this. One, he said on at least, and this is a very short segment. He said in that very short segment, the physical descriptors that he gave Christine on more than one occasion was Christine was a chubby girl. She's overweight. So you're talking about her weight. Then you say that this overweight girl went into the Quickie Mart, basically the convenience store at the gas station, and she goes in and gets the fat girl special because she came out with the largest, most ridiculous, obscene size of chili fries that she could possibly get. Because that's what fat people do, apparently. They just go get food because they just like being fat. The reality of it is this. One, she was hungry. Now, as I've said in my previous videos, as I've talked about the whole nacho cheese incident, when push them down and shove, bruh, if you take a lady out, and this is for my young men out there, if you take a lady out, please make sure that you have enough funds, especially if you're going to be out for a protracted amount of time. And definitely if you're going to be on a road trip, you got to have road grub if you're going to be on a road trip. You got to be able to figure out food. Make sure that you feed the people that you take out. This is just common decency. If you plan on being out all night and you're going to be on the road all night, you at least got to be able to give her some provision to where she can eat. And if you can't afford to take her to get her something to eat, instead of y'all going out all night, maybe you should get a night job. Maybe you should put an application in. You can't afford to go on dates, brother. That's the first thing. And I'm not being nasty to Cody. I'm just saying, like, in general. This is just my point of view. The next thing, if you went out with Christine and Mary, your wife, so you went out with your wife and a woman that you were going to try to date to become your wife, and she went in because you guys didn't stop to feed her, she didn't eat, and she bought herself a big old plate of nachos. Let's break that all the way down. She didn't buy herself the biggest, most obnoxious plate of nachos possible. She went into the store and she bought the entire car the nachos. That's what she was doing. I guarantee you that that's what she was doing. Miss Friendly, bubbly, so excited in the light of the world, light up the room. Young lady, Miss Social. She went in there and bought everybody nachos and was bringing everybody nachos out. And how does that work? Anybody who's ever been on a date and been on a date with a plate picker, somebody, you get your food and, they sit there and talk about how they want to get a salad. Oh, I just want a salad. Maybe I'm going to go crazy and get some croutons and put on some a light vinaigrette. And then you get your big old steak and your side of potatoes, and you know what I mean? And your broccoli or your asparagus spears, and you're sitting there ready to bust that grub. Then all of a sudden, here come that fork, reaching over the plate, tapping your food, you know what I mean? And if you order your food within mind that, okay, I'm going to get enough food to satiate me, to satiate my hunger. I'm going to get enough food to take care of my needs. If you do that, you're walking out of the restaurant hungry. So realizing that you are going to have to share, you might order the large this or the bigger family size that or the shareable entree or appetizer or whatever the case may be. Or you might get an entree, get an extra appetizer so that way you can kind of knock them back, get a gauge on where you're going to be at. So you can either fill yourself up with some appetizer before you get your entree, or you can share the appetizer with this person. They say, hey, you know what, go ahead, cancel that salad, the rabbit food, let's get some real food out here. Either way, those are things that you might do. And it sounds to me that's what she might have done. She goes in, like, if I get the small, because you go to the gas station, they basically got three sizes, let's be honest. They got the small, that's the child size. That's like really the infant size for toddlers. Then you have, like, you eat 3 of those chips, you're done, and you're just hungry for the rest of the thing. You just teased yourself, right? Then you have the individual one, right? That's usually, for some people, that might be the individual one, might be the side, Or you get the nachos and the pretzel, or the nachos, a soda, and maybe the hot dog or something else, and the nacho is kind of the side. It takes the place of the fries. But then if you get the big old nacho chili cheese fries with all the extra sauce and things on it, that's usually for the family. So that's for people who have kids and people that they're going to share with. And you have the shareable one. And that sounds like what she bought to me. I could be wrong. And Christine, if you're watching, let me know if I'm right. Okay, so you have that. But then, why was it so important that Cody bring it up, not only in the book, but in the tell-all and in several different instances? This is something that we see in chapter 1 of the book, in the prologue. Not even chapter 1, before the book even starts. In the prologue, we see this issue. In season 1, episode 1, and throughout the run of the show, this very issue comes up. It especially comes up in season 17's tell-all. And then later in season 18, when Cody's riding in the car with his brother-in-law, who is Mary's brother-in-law, married to Mary's sister, the dude who's married to Mary's sister. What is the issue that I'm talking about? Here's the secret sauce, guys. Here's my revelation, because I just read this for the first time. What I think Cody is doing, and why it was so pressing that he bring it up, is because he's using this story to illustrate that he was not the one who pursued these ladies. These ladies pursued him. He didn't invite them into the situation. They volunteered and or chased this situation. So therefore, that removes culpability and responsibility from his shoulders, because this is what they asked for. And I think that that's why it was so important for him to include it, not only in the book, but for him to talk about it in many different ways. Because one of the big things that Cody had always come out and said during any of the tell-alls, any of the interviews, even throughout the show when they're doing like the confessionals on the couch confessionals, was that Cody is not a misogynist. Cody is not taking advantage of these women. One of the things the women always said, we're strong, independent, beautiful, bodacious beauties who are taking over the world, and we run the family, and Cody has very little say. And they would all sit there and giggle and kind of kick. And that's what Cody would play along with. He played along with the whole, I don't really have a say, and I'm kind of at the whim and will of these women who are pretty much running the family because they're strong and independent and they do what they want to do. That builds up the point where you can say to the person who is falling victim to a lot of the circumstances that they find themselves in the institution of this type of marriage, who are being victimized by that institution, you can say that to the people who are being victimized, well, this is something you chose. This is something that takes the responsibility away from me, and it places it squarely on the backs of the people who chose to be in this situation. This is echoed in season 17's tell-all. Pick me. That was you begging to get into this situation. That's not me chasing you or forcing you to do it or subjugating you. That's you subjugating yourself. Then there's also season 18 where he was sitting in the car with his brother-in-law, who's Mary's brother, but they're exes, so I don't know, his best friend. And he was sitting there talking about how they all had free will and they all chose to be in this relationship, and this is something they decided to do. Again, that's his way of trying to take away any responsibility he may have for how these women are being treated and how these relationships have negatively impacted not only them, but the kids and the people around them. He's the innocent one. He's the one who doesn't have anything to do with it. Now, with all that being said, is it true? Is it false? That's something we could talk about in the My Take section down below. But again, I think that that's part of the strategy that he was using as to why this is something that just kept popping up and why it was so important and so prevalent that he put it in a book. Because could you imagine, even referring back to Mykelti and her revelation on the Patreon, could you imagine being married to somebody for almost 2 decades, pushing out 5 children, pregnant with another one, and then you find out at that point that this guy was saying he wasn't attracted to you, and it not only not attracted to you, he was disgusted by you. So much to the fact that when you sat there and ate a meal, he was ready to paint the whole inside of the car. Okay? With the soda that he had been drinking, it had already spoiled his and soured his stomach. That is insanity. So yeah, everybody is upset about this. And I'm going to, talk about Christine for a little bit. When she comes out and she does the pictures with David, and they're talking about eating these nachos, and David accepts me for the nachos, that's a way for her to validate her relationship and validate her love and validate herself. It's okay for me to be me. And that's what I see. It's not so much a shot towards her ex and the previous relationship she was in. She's just merely saying that this is something that didn't jive with the person I was with, but with this new person, I'm accepted for me. The difference in season 18, and one of the key things that I thought Christine brought up about David, was that David will come in, he'll see something's wrong with Christine, he'll ask her about it, and whereas when she was with Cody, she had to be the fun, bubbly person and she couldn't have problems. But with David in this new relationship, he sits down and wants to hear about what's going on with her to help her get through her issues, her problems, and face her difficulties. The nachos for me are just symbolic of that very gesture. He's accepting the whole of Christine. He wants to have the relationship with all of her, not just the fun parts and then leave the serious parts to somebody else. That's my take. I'm James. This has been My Take on Reality, and I'm out.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH.